All right, we are here. It's time to count down the top 200 prospects in eMLB. Hope you're having a good day wherever you are. I am Tim Lowry with Backfields Media. Couple of things to remember here. First of all, anybody on this list feel like at some point is going to be a major leaguer. But please remember, not all major leaguers are created equal. Not everybody on this list is going to get 550 plate appearances or 170 innings a year. Some of these guys are a cup of coffee at best. Others are going to only fit in a specific role if their team needs it. So there's a lot of fluctuation here. I deducted quite a bit, as I said in the previous teams videos, for guys who are teenagers and in the international complex, but you will still see some here. Every prospect is a lottery pick until you get to like the top dozen or so. Those guys look to be pretty much can't miss. We'll talk about them when we get there. But this is the future. There are superstars here that we probably don't see it right yet, but will turn it around. And there are guys who we're going to think very highly of that will crash and burn. And that is baseball. So let's get right into it. Number 200 from the Kansas City Royals, Sean Zelnick, 6'3" right-hander, 24 years old. Has 5 pitches. The fastball is the best one. Slider is good as well. The other 3 pitches are just kind of there. So really only 2 solid pitchers. Above average control is in terms of the core skills. Has good intangibles. He has good location on his pitches. Will give up a fair amount of home runs despite the fact that he's an extreme fly ball pitcher. Some concerns. And sorry, I'm going to be, scouts get picky. So I'm going to get picky. With the velo that Zelnick has, that stuff rating should be much higher, especially with the fastball already developed the way it is. Really needs to get some coaching and how to be an effective in-game pitcher. That stuff needs a lot of work. That would also be bolstered by getting better grades on his secondary pitches. The slider's okay. The changeup and cutter definitely need work. It's a good kid, smart, but right now you're looking at somebody who is a bullpen filler in September at this point. Also concerned that he's 24 and a half. Not a whole lot more development is going to happen here. Like I said, he's got an outside shot to step up. Sean Zelnick is number 200. At number 199, Dante Gelsey of the Cardinals organization, 6'2" right-hander. Listed as a starting pitcher and looks a lot similar to Zelnick, as you notice. Was rated as high as number 82 by OSA at one point. 4-pitch, got a lively fastball, slider. Tools are just the individual pitches are just a tick off of Zelnick, but the skill sets a little bit better pronounced. Keeps the ball in the park better, slightly. Control, still good. The concerns, the control helps with these weaker pitches, but just like with Zelnick, there needs to be a little bit more stuff here. Velo is not as strong, but, with that movement, this is a pure case of where his ability to keep the ball in the park is better than Zelnick's. And so it ranked him just a touch over him. He's got to max out his potential to even have a chance, really, to be a useful major leaguer. He's kind of a 4A guy, but could fill a role, again, especially a September call-up. We'll be curious to see how he develops within the Cardinals organization. They seem to be pitcher whisperers. They may pull off something here as well. So Dante Gelsey comes in at number 199. Our first CCP, Rhett Vandergraff in the Cleveland organization. He's USN's CCP. 25-year-old left fielder, 6'3", above average power, slightly above average eye, good speed, plays well in the outfield, corner outfield, is a little too aggressive. He's more aggressive than he's got the ability for in terms of stealing bases, but he is still relatively successful. Feels like the Cardinals have him on a leash per se. The hard worker, but he's a bit of a free swinger. With this build, I would like to see more power, especially since the eye kind of grades out his average. What is going to keep him from being an effective major leaguer or potentially a starter is just his inability to make contact. Could get away with it in possibly a lesser league, but in eMLB, somebody with a 39 contact is not going to be on base, get enough hits to be effective and efficient. So I don't know if there's boost in his future or not. Good little player, could come up, could be a bench guy. But we see him at 198 at the 60-point threshold. Rhett Vandergraff for the Cleveland Guardians. At number 197, Mike Meredith, 6'3", 24-year-old right-hander. Seems like a lot of that going around at the bottom of this list. As you see, his OSA prospect ranking is 59. I'm going to explain a little bit why I have him much lower than that, but let's get to the positives first. As you can see, there's a lot of green here. Well-developed pitcher. Average to slightly above average stuff. Will keep the ball down. Is a ground ball pitcher. Good control. Still allows a little too much powerful contact in my mind. Good fastball. Gets outs with all of his pitches. Was the Sally League Pitcher of the Year in 2029. And this was a guy who was drafted in the 27th round. So Philly basically got him as an auto pick. And I don't know. Hebrew may have chosen him by choice. This feels like a Hebrew pick to me. Lost all of last year to a partially torn UCL. That was part of why I dinged him pretty heavily. The other thing was I was feeling like at the time that he was really not going to bubble to the surface in Philly's organization. Philly's got a lot of depth. Had a lot of depth, especially at pitcher. This is one of top 500 prospects that got traded to the Dodgers for Rob Deere Jr. So they did okay. You will see him. Now, since I did this ratings and we finalized the numbers, Meredith has been in AAA, so he's skipped a level, and he's been very solid. I would not be surprised to see him in the majors by the end of this season. I do not mind being wrong on this guy because he's got a lot of potential. Just felt bad because of the injury. Didn't think he was going to make it. Honestly, you could take the 1 off of his ranking number, and I probably wouldn't argue with it right now. Mike Meredith, I'm sure he's going to be higher on our end of season list at 197. Back down to earth. 196, Mike Mittler for the Twins. 20-year-old right-handed third baseman. Impressive speed. Good defense, good corner infielder defense. Rates out mostly as a first baseman, which is kind of a shame because it wastes that great arm of his. but the speed gets him noticed. Has some decent power potential. Contact looks like it's going to rate out his average, but he looks like he could be selective. Good BABIP for his age and could progress, although the eye worries me. Good character guy. The thing that I am noticing is that he's a line drive pitcher, line drive hitter, a pull hitter as well, but he's too much of a free swinger. I felt like if he was a little more patient, developed a little more of a batting eye, those line drive hitting skills could be put to better use. Hopefully the Twins coaching staff can do something with that in their organization. Curious to see what he does in rookie ball this coming season. Mike Mittler is our 196 prospect, and he comes in at 61 points. At 195, Arturo Esparza of the Pittsburgh organization, 23-year-old left-handed second baseman. Above average bat speed, more of a defender, though. Middle infield guy. Average power, he's adaptable, but I really feel like this guy needs to be pushed. He's got the profile of a guy who is a good field, no-hit middle infielder. Does not have the arm to play shortstop, but has elite quality skills in terms of error. Fewer errors at second, despite the fact that he's got a decent range. Is good on the double play ball. So the defensive ability is there. Where he needs the help is offense. This is a kid who is at best right now, a potential backup infielder on a team that highly values defense. Again, that arm keeps him on the right side. It's a cup of coffee kind of guy, maybe a September call-up at some point. Arturo Esparza ranks 195. Sergio Rosado comes in at 194. The Mariners' 21-year-old right-handed third baseman, 6'5". Looks to be a super subtype. You see he plays all over the place. His defensive ratings are good, not great. Average defender. He's got raw power skill, and I want to see that develop as he gets older. He's got the frame to carry this off. If he bulks up a little bit, I could see that becoming a thing. Eye needs to improve. Again, he's another one with free swinging profile. Gets under too many pitches. He's a fly ball hitter, but he's not making quality contact. So it's a lot of lazy fly balls. Again, this is another one where you hope the prospect, the coaching staff will get with him, work with him, kind of hone his abilities. Although he can play anywhere, he looks to be a corner guy. First base, he could be potentially elite. I don't think he's got the offensive profile to play first base. Slow. He's smart. And so, there's a few high-quality skills here that may get him attention. We'll see how he does in the Sally League this year. Sergio Rosado is our 194 prospect. Coming in at 193, Juan Herrera, 17-year-old right-hander, and started out in the international complex. More on that in a minute. 5-pitch mix. It's a good mix. Everything kind of grades out as average right now, although his core tools look to be grading out, especially in terms of stuff and control, as good to above average. He's a hardworking kid. He's smart. Struggles to adjust and adapt. I'm also worried about how much hard contact he gives up and he needs to learn to keep the ball in the park. So when I pulled this sheet, he was in the international complex. He has since made it to the minors, low minors. I am so glad to see this. A lot of times GMs will, and maybe it's because of the depth in their organization, but a lot of GMs will just leave these guys to wallow in the international complex until they're forced to move them. As soon as they can start getting higher quality coaching, the better for these young guys with the 60 plus potentials. Get them in front of better quality coaching. It adds to their development. They have a better chance. Herrera would have been nowhere near this list if he had stayed in the international complex. It's just that simple. We'll see what the White Sox do with him. I like the raw skill so much so that I think he makes the top 200. Another international complex guy, Jorge Vallejo from the Cardinals organization, right-handed left fielder. He's only 16. he got signed like a month into me pulling all of these numbers and ranking these guys. Grades out to be an excellent bat already at his skill levels, making frequent high-quality contact. Decent, could be above average in terms of defense in the corners. I will say this about international complex guys and the teenage, it's like every teenager, right? Full of potential. They can be anything they want to be, and most of them won't maximize that potential, and especially when it comes to baseball. Vallejo, if he loses 20% of his hitting profile here in terms of contact and the power, he is still a usable major league hitter. If the eye drops off, I'd be a little concerned about that. But he's got good bat skills. It's going to be up to St. Louis to craft that and help him to become that constant line drive force. It's just hard to get off the base paths. Would like to see him learn to use his speed a little better on the base paths and stealing. That will come. Right now, he's more of a straight line speed guy and uses it to benefit in the outfield. Jorge Vallejo is a 192 prospect. Coming in at 191, a second baseman, 17-year-old Juan Longoria with the Milwaukee complex. And again, the same kind of thing as we just saw with Vallejo. Very good all-around prospect. Great batting profile. I mean, if he ends up with this is a starting second baseman for Milwaukee for years. He's got a much more mature running profile on base, probably the more steal than base running, but very good speed. The second base numbers look a little low, but he's 17, so those numbers are going to bump up a little bit. This is a guy who'll be okay. I mean, second base, kind of low on the defensive spectrum. He will be average, I would say. It will just come down to how much of this batting profile is still with him when he's turning 20, 21. I'd love to see him in a minor league, in a low minors team pretty quickly to see what he can do with his abilities. Juan Longoria is the 191 prospect. Coming in at a 190, and he's mad at me, Oswald Peraza, again with the Cardinals, right-handed second baseman, 22 years old, comes in just at 6 feet. Plus speed, good base running. He's a very competent fielder. in the middle infield, more of a second baseman than a shortstop, but is passable at short. At best, his bat is going to be average. Mostly it looks like a tick below average. So this is going to be a good field, no hit. A little bit of a power and will draw the occasional walk. But as you can see in his, he was in the Yankee organization until this past off season. You know, you can see cups of coffee everywhere, but he's a 230s, 240s kind of hitter. And that about grades out. He's a hard worker and he's very adaptable. We'll see if anything develops with him in the Cardinals organization. But this looks like a cup of coffee guy as well, 4A guy. But he's young, so he's got that going for him. Oswald Peraza is our 190 prospect. And now our second CCP, PJ 9248's own Bino Slams, starting pitcher in the Giants organization, the 20-year-old left-hander. He's 6'4", plays for Richmond, so I'll get to see him this year. That would be nice, actually. Ultimately, 4 quality pitches, possibly. His splitter is his best pitch. He's got good velo, but it has not really translated into stuff yet. This is more of a control guy, tries to keep the ball in the park and keep it down. He's classified as a power pitcher. I'd love to see that velocity tick up just a bit. I know he's young, but I'd like to see him kind of pull that game into shape. And now at the AA level, he will get an opportunity to do just that. I think he's going to learn a lot this year. You see he's ranked as the number 48 prospect in eMLB. I need to see a little bit more first in terms of his development before I would bump him up that high. Again, some of the secondary pitches could use some work. He's on the right track, and of course, being a CCP, he could blossom at any second, right? Low intangibles, but again, that wasn't as big of a knock on him as my concern about the stuff and the secondary pitches. We'll see what the Giants do with him. Bino Slams is our 189 ranked player. And back-to-back CCPs, Bull Leagues, Slim Malone with the Houston Astros, 25-year-old center fielder. He's a right-handed batter, good power, already developed above average, decent speed, can play the outfield defensively well, more of a corner, but, a game or two in center field, you would escape. He's got some patience, could stand to use a little more. I think that would help him boost his contact ability. He is a bit of a free swinger. And I think it's the contact that's really holding him back. Again, if you're not at least 50 and above in eMLB, you are going to struggle to get your pitch and to do something with it. It's kind of a conundrum for me because to me, the glove's not good enough for him to play in center field, and the bat's not good enough for him to be in a corner. But he's still got a lot of pop. Feels like a 4A guy. Maybe Bull League will send some boosts his way. This is a good player. It's just eMLB is ultra competitive. But we could see him in the major leagues at some point soon. Also kind of worried, he's going to age out of the prospect list here pretty soon. He's already almost 26 years old. Will be by midseason. Slim Malone is our 188th prospect. Coming in at 187 is the Angels' Eric Blaylock, 24-year-old third baseman. He is a corner infielder, above average power and eye. He's a solid defender, looks good. I have batting profile concerns again with the contact and the avoid Ks. If he could just learn to, if he's got a good eye, just needs to learn to be a little bit more patient, I think. And I think that contact could possibly develop. He's a bit of an introvert, but it's okay. I don't think that's a problem one way or the other. He has an elite infield arm. As you can see, plays a lot better at first than at third. But I think at first that arm is wasted. Third, I think he would make a lot of errors, but he would also make a lot of highlight reel throws at third. At 24, I'm not expecting a whole lot more. I don't think he's going to suddenly become a 300 hitter by any means. But I think he's got the skill set to kind of push himself and be at least a backup somewhere. With expansion around the corner, I could see him becoming that kind of backup infielder or power hitter that you've got on the bench for late game situations. Eric Blaylock comes in at 187. Joey Axelrod from the Cleveland organization, the 24-year-old right-handed relief pitcher, 6'7", only 205 pounds. He is currently injured. He got injured in between my doing the rankings and the publishing of this. Got a torn labrum, pretty much is going to miss all of this season. Wish him a speedy recovery. One of these things is not like the other. As you can see, the pitches, he's basically got average pitches, below average pitches. The skill set that is propped up by those pitches is very incredible, except for the stuff, which is directly related to the quality of those pitches. He keeps the ball in the park. He has decent control. So he's maximizing what he can from this average pitch mix. He's a ground baller. In the bullpen, as you can see, for AAA last year, 16 saves, a 1.70 ERA. And he's had, in 2029, his entire year, almost 200 innings of sub-2 ERA. So he's a good pitcher. I'm concerned, the injury, we'll see. It was a partial. It wasn't a partial. It was a torn labrum. Needs to work on all of his pitches. And at this point in his career, I almost wonder if it wouldn't help to just kind of focus on one and try to build that up. And I know we have the development lab now. We can kind of tinker around with guys during the season. Obviously, with him on the DL, that's not going to happen. But I'd be curious to see what he could achieve with focus on just one pitch. Could probably get by in the majors now with this if he was healthy. But he also has weaknesses too. I think he would get hit a lot heavier than he has to date in his minor league career. But Joey Axelrod is our 186th ranked prospect. Lupe Mesa, also from Cleveland, the 20-year-old center fielder. The Demon is 6'4", 185, and I can only imagine that nickname comes from the fact that he is fast. Very aggressive. Speed is his game all the way around. As you can see, it influences his range, his other defensive skills, not so much. He's got relatively decent numbers in terms of contact and gap. This is a prototypical leadoff hitter, or perhaps a bottom of the order guy if the contact doesn't grade out as high as it looks here. He could come in as a number 8 or a number 9 guy. Center field, I expect to see a little bit of a tick up in terms of the overall potential, but I don't know if it's enough for him to be an everyday center fielder. So he looks more like a corner guy, doesn't really have the arm for right field. So kind of leans towards, a speedy left fielder with decent, not great. I wish the eye was a little better. I think he'd be much higher up this list if he was even close to average for that. This is a good kid. I think he is going to work hard. As you can see, he's popular, so he's going to be a good clubhouse guy. So he's got those intangibles. Right now, he's looking like a backup, like a fifth outfielder, or maybe a September call-up to take some of the pressure off the big guys eventually. Curious to see what he becomes this year as he gets his first taste of A-ball action. Lupe Mesa is number 185. At 184, the Washington Nationals, Jaime Goody, second base, right-hander, 20-year-old, and again, speed is his game as well. Excellent stealing ability, has the right level of aggressiveness for it as well. He is a line drive hitter whose rating basically averages out to average. I do like the gap power. That has potential. So does the eye. Concerned a little bit about the avoid K for someone who is not going to be hitting a lot of extra bases or maybe just getting a few doubles. Good clubhouse guy, is flexible, can do what's asked, is trying to learn third base. Don't know how far that's going to get with the arm and the range issue. I think his defensive profile kind of pigeonholes him into second base. It looks like he will probably peak in a backup role. I'm thinking of when I was the Arizona GM. Ottavino, I think was the guy's last name. Very similar to this, similar profile, good defensive guy, good team, good clubhouse guy, would be the leader of the clubhouse, but will play 60 games kind of guy. Anyway, Goody is our 184 prospect. Coming in at 183, the White Sox right-handed third baseman Billy Cantave, 22 years old, above average power. The rest of his hitting profile is kind of grades out to be sort of average. Has a plus arm. I think that is the best part of his defensive makeup. Will probably improve to a slightly above average defender, although that kind of needs to happen sooner rather than later. Not a huge fan of 22-year-old guys in rookie league, but it happens and it has to happen. I mean, some guys are roster fillers. If his power breaks out and the eye maximizes to average where it is, he could see some games. You could see him get some backup third base work if he goes on a tear. I am curious to see what he does once he gets to the point where there's some confidence that he could be a third baseman. I mean, a minor leaguer. He's got a great character set. I'm not going to lie. That's what bumped him up enough for him to make the top 200. But I think he's got a good enough, if he develops the bat, that will be the difference. And he was just drafted last year, so I should probably give him a little bit of some slack there as well. Billy Cantave ranks 183 in our top 200 list. The Stags are up next with left fielder Juan Pacheco, switch hitting 18-year-old, our first switch hitter on this list. Above average defense, elite speed. This guy can just motor. Very smart. His nickname's the Skull, primarily for that reason. Can hit to any part of the field. Makes good contact. Could stand to develop that a little better. Probably going to be more of a doubles and a dozen or so home runs guy when he maxes out. The lack of batting eye concerns me a little bit as well. Typical teenager, sky's the limit. In the modern game, the lack of power and eye is probably going to hold him back a little bit. But this could be a late inning defensive replacement / pinch runner type who could maybe sneak in a few at-bats. Curious to see how this is going to work out for him. Pacheco is our number 182 prospect. At 181, the Montreal Expos bring in left-handed right fielder Juan Castro, a 6'4", 20-year-old, slightly above average power, and a skill set that traditionally leads to high-quality contact. Some concerns, he does have an exceptional arm, so he can look to pencil into right field. He is going to be a corner defender. Works out, is definitely a hard worker. Better base runner than speed, so there's some intelligence at work there and some efficiency that he gets from that. This is a guy who hits line drives. Concern that his speed has not translated to good range in the outfield. So I worry about that disconnect. He does have a lot of drive, but he's going to have to pretty much max out that potential in order to be something more than the 4A player that he looks at right now. He's ranked number 42 by OSA. I'd like to see that contact bump up a little bit. And of course, again, as I said, I worry about the lack of batting eye and the fact that he's such a free swinger is going to hold him back from being a regular contributor to the offense. Juan Castro comes in at 181. At 180, the Dodgers have a pitcher in their international complex. Just recently signed 6-foot right-hander Arturo Mesa. The Big Kahuna. I love the fact he's got a nickname already. This is a finesse pitcher. At 16, of course, the speed has probably not gotten there yet, obviously. But this kind of looks like his profile anyway. This is a control guy. As you can see, he grades out to potentially elite level control. The changeup is his best pitch, followed by the sinker. He's methodical. As you see on the personality thing, he prepares well for games. So here's the thing that is a red flag for me, although he ranks fairly high. The fact that his changeup is his best pitch, but he doesn't have a decent fastball to set it up, worries me a lot. And I think it's going to lead to what you see here, a lot of high-quality contact from opposing hitters. He doesn't have the stuff to blow past guys. At the same time, he's 16 years old. He's got plenty of time to figure this out, get the coaching he needs. The right coaches develop him. You're looking at a back of the rotation guy. Someone who can come in between two fireballers and be an instant batting slump for a lineup in a 3-game series. Arturo Mesa ranks at 180 in our prospect list. The Cubs at 179 have Jorge Esquire. 16-year-old left-handed right fielder. Excellent contact, above average potential for plate discipline. This kid is the definition of raw. He is. This is the kind of kid who everybody picked first on the sandlot or during gym class. And now let's see what some professional coaching does to this skill set. Is potentially a very high contact with power sort of guy. Low on the gap power and low on the eye, which means he is just rearing back and trying to hit it as far and as hard as he can. And he's been good at that to this point. Tracks out in the outfield to be average to above average. Again, the arm is probably his best feature. It is that high, extremely high level contact skill that gets him some attention here. He too is just a recent signing. If your scout is a highly favors tools guy, he probably likes Jorge a lot. I'm curious to see what happens when he starts to get some stats in his profile. Probably too young to get a minor league position right now. I think you'd want to be there at least a couple years. But Jorge Esquire is one to watch. He ranks 179 in my prospect list. 178 is Bobby Colburn, another Cardinals right-handed pitcher, 6'7". He's got a 4-pitch mix. He's ranked, as you see, 44 in OSA. All of his pitches grade out potentially as out pitches, and as you can see, even right now, they rank just below average at the eMLB level. Again, he's got raw stuff that needs to develop. I think he sacrifices some of that stuff. You see the velo 95 to 97. And I think it's kind of being sacrificed to get good placement, to keep the ball down, to not give up home runs, and to avoid the high quality contact. Loses a little bit on control, and I'm kind of worried about that. I get having less stuff to avoid the home run ball, but then if there's no control with it, you can have a road to disaster there. I worry about how well that is going to play as he gets up into the upper levels, AAA and even eMLB, just what that pitching profile is going to look like and how much abuse he's going to take. I would like it if he missed a few more bats. I know his strikeout rate is pretty high. I would like to see that continue and see these other ratings grow. But Bobby Colburn right now is our 178th prospect. Coming in at 177, Colorado's right-handed starting pitcher, Steve Thorson, 21 years old. He was, when I first pulled these numbers, he was the 100 prospect according to OSA. 4-pitch mix, but it's decent to average. The fastball, curveball could eventually develop into out pitches. He is another one that is kind of selling out the stuff to get better placement. He throws a heavy ball, is not going to give up too many home runs. He's a good character guy. I just keep going back to the pitch quality. You want to see high level quality skills in these individual pitches, 70 and above, and it doesn't look like it's going to grade out like that. And knowing that he's in the Rockies organization where Coors Field is a launching pad anyway. Now it's kind of misleading because if you look at his K rate, he's striking out quite a few, 7.4 per nine. But the hits that he's giving up, he's given up a lot of hits, and I'm just a little concerned about that. I think he could ultimately be a back of the rotation guy. The fact that he does throw that heavy ball will help in Colorado. I'd just like to see what he develops into a little bit more. Would love to see a little more stuff. Steve Thorson comes in at 177. And final prospect, at least for this episode, the Tampa Bay Rays, Brian Cole, comes in at 176. The 21-year-old right-handed center fielder. He was their first-round pick in 2029. Elite speed. He is at the level of like Jackie Roberts in eMLB. Just fast. Good gap power. I don't know why he's striking out as much as he seems to. I don't know whether it was just the pitchers he faced in A-plus ball last year or what it was, but I expect that number to go down. As the personality says, the outlook's a bit of a mystery with ups and downs, and yeah, I kind of see that. The speed has not really – I would expect these defensive ratings to be much better, although there is room to improve, so I'm going to reserve judgment there. He avoids K, has a halfway decent eye, and has good gap power, but can't seem to make consistent contact. When he does, it's a line drive, and he can hit to all fields. But power and eye look like they will grade out as just average, and so it's kind of hard to figure out what he's going to be. But that speed covers a multitude of sins. And I think if he leverages that into both his offensive game and his defensive game, Cole is the kind of player who could become a fourth or fifth outfielder on an organization and be productive and contribute. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back next time, we'll start with 175. Like and subscribe. Tell us what you liked or didn't like in the comments. One thing I will say, I know I'm being ultra critical, which is hard for me because I tend to be that kind of guy who just loves everything. But I'm trying to look at this as a scout would and trying to be a little pickier. So if you see something I missed or something you would like to see going forward, just hit it up in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you have more baseball in the rest of your day. And until then, this is Tim with Backfields Media signing off.